There are so many people out there who have been struggling to speak English fluently and confidently. It's not something they are not working hard to learn English or to speak English. They are putting their effort. They are literally trying to do their level best to get the result, which is being able to communicate with anybody in English at any given time. But despite having put a lot of effort, despite having tried many times, they are not able to meet the expectation. They are not able to speak English fluently with anybody. So if you are someone who can relate yourself with it, then this video is going to be extremely helpful to you. By the way, this video is not for only one type of learner. This video is for all type of learner. Whether you are a beginner, intermediate English speaker, or even you are someone who just want to brush up your skill, this video is going to change your English completely. So in this video, I will be talking about 45 days challenge plan which can transform your English completely. So in this video, I will not be talking about you have to read, you have to write, you have to listen or think or blah blah blah. No, these are the steps I will not be talking about because I have already talked about them in so many of my previous videos. So in this video, I will be talking about some steps which can help you to speak English fluently in this 45 days. So without further delay, let's get into the video and talk about the steps which can help you to speak English fluently in just 45 days. So the first thing you are supposed to do before even starting this challenge is to make it a project. By saying make it a project, I mean you have to look at it as a project or a challenge. So as I already mentioned in the video that I will be talking about a challenge plan or a project which can transform your English in just 45 days. So you just have to imagine that you are given a task and that task has to be completed in just 45 days. So when you are speaking fluent English as a project, then you are more likely to get your task done. I have seen a lot of people following multiple challenges like 75 days challenge, 40 days challenge, 50 days challenge, 21 days challenge. So there are many people who have been following different challenges according to their convenience. So I decided to make a challenge in which you will be following multiple steps according to your convenience. And I decided to make it a project because when you look at something as a project, then you will definitely be occupying some amount of your time to complete that task. I'm sure many of you would have experienced the pressure of having deadline. So when you know that you have deadline, whether you are working or you are going to school or you are going to college, it does not matter. But when you are given certain amount of time to complete certain tasks, then you will definitely be doing that task whether you want it or not. I can talk about myself. I have to submit my practical notes tomorrow, which I haven't completed yet. And I know that no matter how much time this video will take me to shoot or what are the things I have to complete today, it does not matter because I have to complete that task today so that I can submit my notes tomorrow. So it's like a project for me which has to be completed at any cost. So when you look at learning to speak English fluently as a project, you are less likely to procrastinate and you are more likely to get your task done at any cost. I want you to make it a project because when you are looking at something as a project or as a challenge, then it will automatically motivate you to get your things done because you will always remind yourself that you know what, I have to complete this task just for 45 days or I have to do certain things just for 30 days or just for 45 days and then I will be assured and then I can do whatever I want. And even if I don't want to study for a few days, I don't need to do that because I don't have any kind of pressure because I have not committed to myself to do certain things. Next thing you are supposed to keep in your mind while following this challenge is to set a specific time to follow specific steps. By saying this, I mean I definitely don't want you to study English for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that. No, I definitely don't want you to do that, because it will completely make you feel burnt out and you will not be able to complete any of your tasks. You can make time according to your schedule. Even though if you are getting just 30 minutes or just 1 hour each day to complete your task, it's perfectly all right. It does not matter how many hours you are devoting to learning English, but what actually you are learning, it's extremely important. Many people may say that what can 1 hour do to my English? By the way, you are saying this just because you have not explored everything yet. Well, you don't know, but let me tell you one thing, that even though if you are spending just 1 hour for 45 days with consistency, you will completely be amazed by the result. But there's one thing I would like to tell you, that do not forget to be consistent, because consistency is everything. Even though if you're able to make just 1 hour to devote to learning English, that's perfectly all right. If you're getting more time than that, then that's also better, because it will help you to improve your English faster. But if you are not able to make enough time, and if you are someone who is extremely busy, then that's perfectly all right, because our motive should not be to become better than others, because our motive should be completely different, which is we have to become better at English. Now let me elaborate a little bit about what I mean by setting a specific time to follow specific steps. So as I already mentioned in many of my videos, that there are 4 aspects of learning any language, which is reading, listening, speaking and writing. And you have decided that you have to follow all of them. So you have to be extremely mindful while following these steps. You have to decide everything before sleeping at night, that what are the steps you have to follow tomorrow and how much time you will be devoting to each one of them, and when you will be following all of them. You have to be very specific at that moment. Okay, so let me give you my example, what exactly I do when it comes to setting a specific time to follow specific steps. So as you all know that I follow almost all the steps every single day, which is reading, writing, speaking and listening. So I follow all these steps every single day, but I always make sure that I am planning every single thing before going to bed at night. So I just plan about tomorrow, that what are the steps I have to follow tomorrow and how much time I will be able to dedicate to follow each one of them. So usually I wake up in the morning and start reading. Usually I read for 15 minutes, but if I have enough time, then I would read for 30 minutes or probably 10 pages. When it comes to listening or watching, I usually listen to podcast while walking or while cooking, or if I'm walking, then I just listen to podcast while walking. In the afternoon or in the evening, whenever I'm getting free time, I will be speaking to someone. But if I am not using any app, if I'm not connecting with others, I always make sure that I'm speaking to myself. Well, this is something many people struggle with, because they find it creepy, they find it awkward to speak to themselves, but it's extremely helpful and it has improved my English completely. I would say, like, it has transformed my English. So I would say that speaking to yourself is the best way if you are someone who does not have partner or who does not have anybody whom you can practice with. By the way, when it comes to writing, I prefer writing at night, because I have a lot of thoughts, I have a lot of things to talk about. Sometimes I talk about how my days went and like what are the things happened today. So it's completely up to you what you want to write. So that's how I set a specific time to follow specific steps. So if you are setting a specific time to follow these steps or whatever steps you want to follow, then it will help you to be organized. It will help you, it will always make you aware that you have to follow these tasks, you have to do these things. So yeah, it will always help you to just be on track. Next thing I would highly recommend you to do while following this challenge is to focus on putting massive amount of input. This is something I would emphasize so much, because I know the impact of having enough input. This is something my personal experience. I have struggled with it so much. Many times I wanted to talk about something, but I could not speak. It still happens to me. I struggle with it still. Sometimes I can't about topic, and in the beginning I used to get fed up with that. I used to feel I know English, I can speak English, then why do I struggle with it? But once I get into the depth of it, once I explored many things, I get to know that I struggle with speaking because I don't know many things, I don't have enough vocabulary, and I don't put enough input. And by saying input, I mean when you are reading and listening a lot, you will automatically be comfortable with speaking and writing. So now let me give you example of a tree. It will help you to understand things better. So in order to obtain food, shelter, fruits, boots and all that stuff from a tree, you first need to have seed. And once you have seed, you need to water it. First of all, you have to plant that seed, and then you have to water it regularly so that you can get all the benefits from that tree. So the same thing happens with language learning. If you want your English to be improved, you must focus on putting a lot of input. So the more you put input, the better and faster you will be able to produce output, which is speaking and writing. So this is something you have to focus on, because many times we can't talk about things. Many people struggle with speaking because they are not putting enough amount of input which is required. In the beginning, you must focus on putting a lot of input so that you will be able to produce output easily. Many people struggle to speak English fluently just because they don't spend enough time with reading and listening, or you can say watching, whatever you can do. So it's extremely important to follow these steps in order to speak English fluently. So whenever you are following this challenge, make sure that in those 45 days you are spending enough time with the language. And the last but not the least step is something which can upgrade your English. It can rapidly change your English within 45 days. You will completely be amazed just by following this one step. So what you are supposed to do, you just need to have 45 new topics. And by saying new topics, I mean you have to include multiple areas. And by saying multiple areas, I mean you need to have topics from science, from psychology, from health, from relationships, from finance, from self-growth. Like, you need to have topics from different areas, and you need to have 45 topics, at least 45 topics. If you have more than that, then that's perfectly all right. Now let me briefly explain what I mean by having topics from different areas. So let's say you have chosen a topic from environment, and the topic is deforestation, or probably it's water pollution, or probably it's air pollution. So you need to have these topics. So whenever you are choosing these topics, like these 45 topics, you have to be picky. You have to be extremely mindful, because whatever topics you are going to choose, you need to be interested in those fields. You need to have some sort of curiosity to know more about those topics. Once you have chosen those topics, now what you're supposed to do, you have to pick one topic each day for 45 days and research about that one topic. By saying research, I definitely don't want you to go and look into books. No, you just have to go to Google and read 2 to 3 articles about that one specific and particular topics. And once you have read 2 or 3 articles, you have to talk about that topic in your own words in front of camera for at least 10 to 15 minutes every single day for 45 days. Now let me explain briefly what exactly I have talked about in this entire video. So the first thing you are supposed to do in order to start following this challenge, or while you are following this challenge, is to make it a project. So when you are following this 45 days challenge to speak English fluently, you have to look at it as a project, so that you are less likely to procrastinate and you are more likely to get your things done. Next thing you are supposed to do is to focus on setting specific time to follow specific steps. It's extremely helpful because it will help you to manage your time more effectively, and it will help you to get to know more about how much time you are focusing on every single steps. Third step you are supposed to do is to focus on putting massive amount of input. It's extremely important because when you are putting massive amount of input, then you are more likely to produce output without making mistakes, without thinking twice, or without even translating. So it's extremely important. It will help you to change your English, change the way you speak, change the kind of vocabulary you have been using for a long time. And the fourth step is something you need to have 45 new topics, and you have to pick one topic each day for 45 days and research about it and talk about it in front of camera every single day, so that you can articulate your thoughts in a more effective and in a better way. So here are 4 steps which you are supposed to do in order to follow this 45 days challenge to improve your English and to be able to speak English fluently. So if you are someone who is looking to improve your English in year 2024, and if you don't want to meet any kind of embarrassing situation, and if you don't want to struggle just because you are not able to speak English fluently, then you must take up this challenge, because it can completely change the way you speak and it will help you to be confident while speaking English. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found it extremely helpful. So please give it a thumbs up, because it helps me to be motivated to create more videos like this. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.